What's that, Pika? Oh, you don't need a magic word. You are a magic word. Aww, isn't that cute? Hey there, welcome back once again. It is time for the golden age of DC Comics, 365 days, where I take this beloved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. This has been serving my coffee table ever since and has been a constant source of comic book shop style conversations, the kind I wish to recreate today, right here, right now, with you. Yes, you. You are the most important ingredient in our recipe of our show. This isn't my show. This is our show. You know? Exactly. This is a 2004 Abrams press publication, written and curated by Chip Kidd, Les Daniels, and Geoff Spear. There is a link in the description to the Amazon page where you can get your own copy. You could even get a used copy. You could give an old book a second life in love. This is true. You could rescue a book. You know? It's kind of like puppies and being and single men. You know what I mean? You too can rescue a loving book and include this in your home. Yeah, you could. I've given this book a few different lives, and I'm loving its current iteration, its current incarnation, as daily inspiration. I'm using this book for its intended purpose. This is a 365 days book. We're going to open up to today's date. It is December the 1st. Happy December. End of the year is right around the corner. We're going to open up to today's date, December the 1st. We're going to look at some comic book art of an antediluvian age. We're going to read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books. And we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. That's right. Thank you so much for tuning in. You put on those notifications, you're going to slowly figure out how to tell time. I guarantee you. I promise. Awesome. Let's get to it. I hope your day is awesome. I hope you're clobbering your problems and not being clobbered by them. Over and out. Let's see. Today is magnificent, consistently awesome work by Mac Rayboy from the cover of Master Comics number 20, issue number 22, January of 1942. Leading me to ask, I wonder when was the shelf date of this book? Because it has a cover date of January 1942, okay? And the cover date is meant to when you take the... so if it was February 1942, that means you would have to remove this magazine from the shelf or the spinner rack, rip off its cover, and pack it up to be sent back to the publisher to be turned into pulp for another round. And I believe you would get a credit for that unsold copy. Leave a comment in the comments section. Continue this conversation. I want to learn more about that. I mean, this is a really keen viewpoint into the publication history, into the history of magazine publication. I find that fascinating. From fonts to kerning to columns to, you know what I mean? Just, I love typeface, you know, pictures, you know, how to format a page, you know, advertisements, things like that. I mean, just magazine publications are a really interesting thing to me. But yeah, this is art by Mac Rayboy. Oh yeah, so I was saying that because so it would be released and put on the shelves. See, perhaps I'm thinking November of 1941. The United States had not officially entered World War II as of yet. So yeah, this is Fawcett Comics, the main competitor to DC Comics. This is from their Master Comics number 22, of January of 1942. With that said, let's look at some art by Mac Rayboy. We're going to be talking about Mac Rayboy today. So this is specifically a zoom up from the cover. And this has Captain Marvel Jr. joins Bullet Man in a battle with something about wax and death. And and that's Captain Yahtzee. I don't want to trigger anyone or specifically anyone being the algorithm. You know what I mean? If you're triggered by that word, you shouldn't be using it. Jerk faces. Seriously. But that's Captain Yahtzee, and that was Captain Marvel Jr.'s man antagonist. And he's got a team up with Bullet Man in this issue. We're gonna read some. We're gonna read the blurb, and then we're gonna talk about comic books. Awesome. A wax museum is hardly complete without its chamber of horrors. It's true. The chamber of horrors. Yeah, in like torture chambers, and like, you know, I have the closest thing I got to a wax museum here in Boston. Historically, there might be one like in the tourist center that's newer, but would be like the Salem witch trials up in Salem, Massachusetts, up in the North Shore, and we would go there once a year on school field trips till around Halloween time. It was a huge draw, yeah, and just the dunking. I was always like, oh my god, that's like a real life size, like, you know, dunker. It was like you would tie the witch to one end and then you would dunk her in water to make her confess. Terrible. This really happened in real life. We're not talking about people's social media skills. This is, yeah, witchcraft. We accuse women accused of witchcraft. Accused of. You made an accusation about witchcraft. And people died and were tortured. Yeah, huh? Maybe it's an unfair comparison to social media, you know, culture war stuff, but I think there's something intrinsically joined and yoked to the human nature that inspires both and has the similarities in both. That's just my humble opinion. But a wax museum is hardly complete without its chamber of horrors. And wax museums have in turn inspired countless horror stories, not to mention such movies as Waxwork, 1924. There was also a really good, maybe a remake of this, but another movie called Waxwork. I think it was 1994. It was like really sexy and really, like, you know, it was a good vampire story. I thought so. Mystery of the Wax Museum in 1933. The Frozen Ghost in 1945. One of my favorites, House of Wax, starring Vincent Price, which was in 3D from 1953. Oh yeah, here we go. Waxwork, 1988. So the plots invariably involved corpses hidden in wax and displayed as statues, or people killed with molten wax and then displayed as statues. Captain Marvel Jr. and Bullet Man are keeping things hot for the bad guys. And let's look at that art once again. So you have, you know, the woman in peril. There you have Captain Marvel knocking over an urn full of hot wax. There, and then you have Bullet Man keeping Captain Yahtzee occupied. Indeed. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about Mac Rayboy's art. I mean, I've become such a fan of Mac Rayboy's art, revisiting this book. I always loved Captain Marvel Jr. as a character. I love Mary Marvel. I love Shazam. I grew up with a couple of different forms of Captain Marvel and Shazam, a live action show, and then two different cartoons in the 70s and 80s. And it was also really cool to see Shazam fighting along next to Superman. I really didn't know if they got along. I thought, I always had the understanding that maybe they didn't like each other, but they always teamed up. And there was this one really famous cover where they had their outfit switched. So you had, you know, Captain Marvel and his spit curl in the red togs, the lightning bolt, and you had Captain Marvel, Shazam, you know, with his, you know, those eyes, you know, those comics drawn eyes, and that look that he has from the days of yesteryear. He had this cartoony face that he kept for a pretty long time until you just can't pull that off and with modern art, that's usually like a background thing to be like almost of an emoji quality. If you had the comic book style like eyes that Billy Batson and Captain Marvel used to have. Indeed, but let's talk a bit about Mac Rayboy style. Who is Mac Rayboy? Well, Emmanuel Mac Rayboy was an American comics artist, and guess where we're reading this from? Guess. The Wiki! That's right. ATST, ATST. Was an American comics artist best known for his work on Fawcett Comics, Captain Marvel Jr., and as the Sunday comic strip artist of Flash Gordon for more than 20 years. Cartoonist Drew Friedman stated that Rayboy was an expert technician with a pen and a brush, and his lush covers are some of the most unusually beautiful ever to grace comic books. And this is true. I mean, this style that we have people like Alex Ross now who do these, who's known for their covers that just it makes you want to buy this magazine. It's really interesting. And so in the spring of 1946, King Features, they were one of the syndicates. Of King Features Syndicate Incorporated is a content distribution, consumer product licensing, and print syndication company owned by Hearst Communications that distributes about 150 cartoon strips, newspaper columns, editorial cartoons, puzzles, and games to nearly 5,000 newspapers worldwide. King's Feature was huge. I mean, they were like, and Flash Gordon was one of the biggest daily and Sunday newspaper strips ever. In the spring of 1946, King Features hired Rayboy to continue the Sunday page adventures of Flash Gordon, which he continued to work on until his death. In 1967, he died of cancer at the age of 53. Gone too soon. But I got this write-up from the gallery at Penn College, the Pennsylvania College of Technology. So this is about art, and it's called About the Artist, Lush, Meticulous Style. Jack Kirby, let's see. I want to pick and choose this one. Okay. This meant, and in judging by the character's sales figures, it was clear that young fans identified with Captain Marvel Jr., who was a bona fide star in spite of his status as a junior. This meant that it was essential at all times to accentuate Junior's youth, while also making him appear capable enough to believably challenge grown-up villains, such as his wartime nemesis, Captain Yahtzee. Rayboy's Captain Marvel Jr. covers and stories are detailed and dramatic. Few artists could match his sense of light and dark, and his figures move like no others, especially through the air. No other artist made flight as believable, as weightless as Rayboy. His Captain Marvel Jr. was formidable, fearsome, and forever young. Yeah, there was just, and he wasn't suited for the demands of deadline-oriented comic books business. Roger Hill wrote in Alter Ego that Rayboy may have been the slowest artist ever to work in comics. Rayboy left Fawcett in 1944 and then ultimately got the gig on the hugely popular Flash Gordon until 1967. He worked, until he passed. That's an amazing work. But that style that Mac Rayboy had, then just, it's one of my favorites. I love looking at this book specifically for the Mac Rayboy art that's sprinkled throughout. And there's enough instances in this book that you've heard Mac Rayboy's name a few times. We talk about Captain Marvel Jr. whenever he appears. He had his own comic book. He had a really unique spin and design on his costume. And he was a kid fighting grown-ups. He was a young person. It was a great vehicle for a young person to imagine themselves as part of the story. I just think I love Captain Marvel Jr. I love Captain Marvel. I love Mary Marvel, as you can see. Hello, Mary. Hi. You know, maybe I can get trapped on Earth Zero. You know, call me. You know, she's a college student on Earth Zero, and I'm an old man. That's, you know, naughty. You can't go there anymore. I mean, geez, you've been having these crushes on these comic book characters since you were like younger than how they look in publication, and now you are way older than that. You have to adjust your non-delusional parasocial crushes, you know, as the older you get. You know what I mean? We've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. We talk about comic books every day. We make regular content. I am a professional chef. I make cooking technique videos. I'm a spiritual guy, an ordained minister, an amateur theologian. We get spiritual here. We talk a lot about gratitude and purpose, and how it's dramatically helped me reboot my life. And I really needed it. I really needed that reboot in the ass. Yes, indeed. Thank you so very much for tuning in. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Ciao. Bye-bye.